Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt, and my topic has already been done twice tonight. So, but my claim of fact is that internet communication is harming people around the world's ability to communicate face to face. This happens because people abuse the internet and overuse it, which results in a loss of people's interpersonal skills. This is having a negative effect in a social setting and in a business setting. The first point that I would like to make is that people overuse the internet. Since the internet's conception, more and more people every day discover it and use it. Recent estimates indicate that there are over 150 million people online worldwide. That's a lot of people. Scientists believe that anywhere between 6 to 80% of heavy internet users are beginning to or already have developed signs that point to internet addiction. The symptoms of internet addiction include an immense feel of pleasure or stress relief while online, feeling irritable or depressed when not on the internet, and the inability to control spending on hardware, software, or other computer-related goods. There are more symptoms, but that's just it. Some even liken internet use to a cocaine-like rush while online. Let that sink in. These people are much more susceptible to experiencing social behavioral problems from the internet than your typical internet user. In other words, loss of interpersonal skills mostly occurs in people who are addicted or habitually use the internet. A study called HomeNet that studied 169 internet users found that heavy internet users spend much less time with friends and family, going so far as to completely ignore them unless they happen to be on the internet too. These people also experienced extreme bouts of depression and loneliness, even though they all favored IM and email as the main reasons why they use the internet. People in the workplace use the internet during business hours to distract themselves when they should be working, but I'll come back to this in more detail. All of this overuse of internet results in lost interpersonal skills in the real world, which is my second point. I'm sure that everyone in this room does or has communicated over text, IM, or email. I myself even admit to doing it. These forms of communication have become the easiest and most common forms of interacting with people. People often over-rely on communication like this. There are certain emotions and tones that cannot be conveyed through online messaging, such as sarcasm or happiness or anger. People often type in a plain monotone style if they're just trying to get their message across quickly. Often, people that communicate heavily over the internet can be brazen, charismatic, or witty. But these same people, when faced with actual human face-to-face contact, will quake in their boots and be reduced to a babbling mess. This leads them into a vicious cycle because of their awkward and shy experiences with talking to actual people. They go back to the internet because it's more comfortable for them, which makes them even worse at talking to people face-to-face, etc. This scenario is becoming more and more common as people shy away from spending actual time with each other and favor online forms of communication. My final point in my argument is that internet communication is causing some trouble in the workplace. I already touched on this subject earlier. First, I must acknowledge that the internet has made business-like communication more expedient and simpler. It is the over-reliance on the internet that has negative effects. Let us revisit my earlier example. Say the shy person who prefers to talk over the internet gets a corporate job. He works alone and focuses really well and gets all of his work done. He emails his progress to his superiors and whoever else needs to know. But he is unable to speak to others or socialize, which, believe it or not, can be very important in the workplace. It keeps a community atmosphere and can help a person relax so they don't go crazy. Or say this employee needs to give a speech or a presentation to a bunch of managers or higher-ups. If he has no interpersonal skills and he can't talk to people in person, then he can't do this, and this may cost him his job. Say he somehow keeps his job for a number of years and rises to the top of the company. He is a manager or a VP or director. He would have to give orders to people and manage. If he has no interpersonal skills and he can't talk to people, he can't do this. Or say he has to make a deal with another company. If he gets too nervous and messes up, he could end up accidentally selling the company or blowing the deal. A lot of business like this takes place in a face-to-face setting. It builds trust when you can see a person in front of you and talk to them, so people prefer to do deals in that manner. Also, work is supposed to be a community sort of place, like I said earlier. Everyone working together to get things done. If you can't talk to people and get to know them, or communicate about some work that needs to be done, then you're not part of the community. You're harder to approach, and this may not allow you to get your assigned work or other news in a timely manner, which can lead to more problems. In conclusion, because of people's overuse of the internet, people have lost their interpersonal skills in the social setting and in the workplace. Thank you.
All right, the proposition stated pretty clearly. I thought you laid out the secondary points at the beginning reasonably well. We know the controversy a little bit because we've heard a couple of speeches on similar subjects tonight, so that's not a big surprise. Internal labeling is also pretty clear. Your evidence, I think, is really dependent on a lot of hypothetical examples and a couple of them that really press reality, so I'm not exactly sure that somebody who has no interpersonal skills could ever rise to the level of a manager, much less owning a company or running the company and then accidentally selling it. I think that really stretches the imagination and doesn't really sell the point that you're making there. I think there are probably more practical illustrations that you could find. I also think you need some authorities in the field of communication who have written about this to maybe back up your point. It's likely that the one piece of information that you had that I thought was pretty effective mentions that HomeNet study, and I thought that was pretty good, although it does sound like it's a little bit limited. By the way, early on you had a piece of factual data that said there are 150 million people worldwide using the net. That data has got to be old. I think there are 150 million people in my office today who are using the internet. So you've got to really make sure that the information is up to date, because otherwise it's going to seem like you're mixing so much information together, and we're not going to know which is reliable and current and which is really old or antiquated. Your eye contact needs to be a little bit stronger and lose the hat. 2 examples of interpersonal skills that you ought to have when you're speaking to an audience. There you go. Little kettle calling the horse. I'm sorry, I'm mixing a metaphor there. All right, thank you. Marina, I did not go to my office before class. Let me see if I've got a copy of the test in my sample case. If I don't, you can just come up to the office in 20 minutes and do it there, okay? I may have a copy of it. Got all excited at the biology. So I'm having a meeting that I didn't know I had. So I don't think happy to say I never got to zoology, microbiology. Building one. We'll be up. I'll be up there soon. The first day of the week is 17. And I didn't get to Okay, who's doing the next peer evaluation? Okay, Megan is your speaker. Megan, you are our next speaker.